corridors of Bercy are heating up. Arnaud Montebourg, Minister of the Economy, has just learned that Alstom is secretly negotiating with General Electric. He steps up furiously. It's not by dismantling Alstom that we're going to save French industry. He fights, he issues a decree, he threatens to block the sale, but he loses. François Hollande, then France's president, will decide, and a young man of 37, whom you know well, replaces him at Bercy, Emmanuel Macron. The sale is made for 12.4 billion euros, and with it, control of the French nuclear turbines goes to the Americans. A flagship sold, the one that equipped the country's nuclear power plants. But Alstom is not an isolated case. Let's go back a bit. Year 2000, Pechinet, an aluminum giant, swallowed by an American group. Arcelor, Europe's #1 in steel, bought by an Indian. Technip, a pioneer in offshore oil, disappeared into an Anglo-Saxon giant. Fast forward to 2024. Now, it's not about steel or energy. It's Doliprane, the medicine that every French person has in their medicine cabinet, sold to an American fund like a common commodity. Today, France doesn't own much of its industry anymore. The logos are still French, and sometimes the headquarters as well. But the decisions, the money, the power, they're elsewhere. In New York, in Beijing, in New Delhi. But then, how did France, the world's 7th largest power according to the International Monetary Fund, let its champions slip away? Why did the French elites sell off what other countries jealously protect? Was it really inevitable, or was it a deliberate choice? Hi, entrepreneur mindset. I hope you're doing well. Following all your video suggestions about the decline of several French companies, from NAF to Alstom, I've decided to create a broader video on France's industrial situation. In this investigation, we'll look together at the golden age, when France was a formidable industrial power. The great sell-off, the acquisitions that changed the face of the country, but also the headlong rush forward. Healthcare, tech, agri-food, everything is affected now. And as usual, the business and political lessons from this ruthless disaster. It's a story of lost pride, economic naivety, and transferred sovereignty. A story that raises a fundamental question: can we still be a great nation without industry? Where in the 1980s, industrial France is running at full capacity in Belfort. The Alstom factory manufactures steam turbines that equip French nuclear power plants. In Dunkirk, Usinor's blast furnaces, later Arcelor's, spew fire. In Grenoble, Pechinet produces the aluminum that goes into airplanes, trains, and buildings all over the world. Factory sirens across the country set the daily pace. Industry is the beating heart of the economy. The numbers speak for themselves. Industry accounts for 24% of France's gross domestic product industry, employs 5.3 million people, and 1 in 4 jobs. It's simple. The factory is the country's backbone. At that time, France was not yet a country dominated by services. It was a country that produced, built, and exported. Made in France isn't just marketing, it's an industrial fact. But golden ages don't last forever. In the 1980s, France entered a phase of deindustrialization. On one hand, due to the shift of its economy towards the service sector, and on the other hand, because of the labor cost gap compared to developing countries, in a context of globalization and massive outsourcing. But while France manages its high costs and bureaucracy, other countries will adapt. Germany optimizes costs, exports, and SMEs. Japan automates production. China observes, copies, and then grows in power. The numbers of the decline are brutal. Between 1980 and 2016, the industry lost 1.9 million jobs, or 36% of its workforce. Industry's share of gross domestic product will drop 10 points to 13.4% in 2018, compared to 25.5% in Germany, 19.7% in Italy, and 16.1% in Spain. Factories are shutting down, and skills are vanishing, impacting entire regions like Lorraine, the North, and the Lion Chinese Valley. France, like the United Kingdom, is one of the major industrialized nations that has seen the most significant deindustrialization in recent decades. No one wants to admit it, though the official narrative discusses economic transformation and modernization. The common belief is that finance will replace steel, with the service sector filling the gap, except that the reality is much more complex. France has just shifted. Unknowingly, it shifts from manufacturing countries to those reliant on others. And that's exactly when the opportunists show up. Not with tanks, but with three-piece suits, well-prepared PowerPoints, and billions in cash. Frederick Pierucci gets off his plane. He's an executive at Alstom, the global president of the company's boiler division. He's here on a business trip, except that as soon as he gets off the plane, the FBI shows up, handcuffs him, puts him in custody, and takes him to a high-security prison. The reason? Corruption. He is accused of using 2 consultants to funnel bribes to Indonesian public officials to secure a $118 million coal-fired power plant contract in Tarakan, Indonesia. Yes, in Indonesia. You're probably wondering, so what's the connection with the United States? Well, this arrest happened against the backdrop of General Electric acquiring Alstom's energy division. Pierucci's imprisonment was meant to put pressure on Alstom's management so they would cooperate with the Department of Justice. Alstom is the French energy giant, the one that makes steam turbines for French nuclear power plants, the one that equips the train à grande vitesse, the one that exports its expertise all over the world. But in 2014, Alstom is in debt and under pressure, especially under American surveillance since 2010. The United States is collecting evidence, intercepting emails, and questioning executives. In 2014, as the favorable deal forms, tensions erupt and Bercy offices are in chaos. Arnaud Montebourg, then Minister of the Economy, discovers the scale of the deal between Alstom and General Electric. He sees the American judicial pressure as a Trojan horse for the economy, and he directly opposes the sale. Alstom's dismantling is neither inevitable nor beneficial. Montebourg does all he can. He issues a decree to control foreign investments, an emergency legal weapon to block the operation. He publicly criticizes industrial dismantling and sets conditions. The state must buy a 20% stake in Alstom, and 3 50-50 joint ventures must be created with General Electric in nuclear, networks, and renewable energy. The political decision was already made. François Hollande, then president, approved the sale. In August 2014, Montebourg left the government and was replaced by Emmanuel Macron, who finalized the agreement. In November, the sale was completed. General Electric took control of Alstom's energy division, and with it, the Arabelle turbines, the most powerful in the world, capable of converting nuclear steam into electricity. General Electric now controls about 80% of nuclear power's technological core. In 4 years, an American legal case turned into a strategic takeover. If you were worried about Pierucci, he spent 14 months in prison before being released on bail. The week when the French government agreed to the takeover of Alstom by General Electric. He'll write a book, The American Trap. He tells everything: the manipulation, the use of the American anti-corruption law for economic purposes. But it's too late. Alstom Energy is gone, and it's not the only case. In 2003, we have Pechinet, the French aluminum giant founded in 1855 active in electrometallurgy and packaging. That year, the Canadian company Alcan launched a hostile takeover bid. In a fragile situation, Pechinet couldn't resist and was acquired for 4 billion euros. Today, Pechinet no longer exists. In 2006, we have Arcelor, the #1 steel company in Europe, born from the 2002 merger between the French company Usinor, the Luxembourgish Arbed, and the Spanish Arcelor. On January 27, 2006, the Indian Middle Steel Company launched a hostile takeover bid of 18.6 billion euros. Arcelor defends itself and finds a white knight in Russian Severstal. On June 25, 2006, Arcelor's board unanimously accepted a higher offer of 26.9 billion euros. On July 26, 2006, Arcelor disappeared from the French stock market indexes. The promises to maintain jobs thrown away. Thousands of jobs were cut in the following years, and the French blast furnaces were shut down forever. Do you think the lesson was learned? Well, it's far from over. In 2017, we have Technip, the French leader in offshore oil engineering. On January 17 that year, Technip merged with Food Machinery Corporation Technologies to create Technip Food Machinery Corporation. The new company has headquarters in Houston, Paris, and London. The chief executive officer is American, and former Technip chief executive officer Thierry Pelenko becomes executive chairman. But in 2019, he leaves the company with a 14 million euro severance package, while the group announces a $1.9 billion loss in 2018. According to observers, Pilenko's departure marks the Americans' takeover. We also have Lafarge, founded in 1833, a global cement pioneer. On April 7, 2014, Lafarge and Swiss group Holcim announced a merger, which took effect on July 10, 2015, with 3 changes from the original plan. There is a change in parity in favor of Holcim's shareholders, who become the majority. French Chief Executive Officer Bruno Lafon stepped down from general management, and as you might expect, the headquarters moved to Switzerland. And to do things properly, like a professional assassin who leaves no trace. In 2021, Lafarge Holcim drops the Lafarge name and becomes simply Holcim. The operational headquarters in Paris closes its doors. Decisions are now made in Zug, Switzerland. Lafarge no longer exists. There's one nearby. In every French medicine cabinet next to Smecta and cough syrup, it's the national reflex. Headache? Doliprane for fever. Doliprane for hangover? It's so ingrained in the daily life of the French that no one can imagine it could come under foreign control. And yet in October 2024, Sanofi announced that it had entered into exclusive negotiations with the American investment fund Clayton, Dubilier and Rice for the sale of 50% of its operating subsidiary. The valuation is based on a value of about 16 billion euros. 16 billion. The French government panics. Economy Minister Antoine Armand announces a 3-way agreement between the state, Sanofi, and the investment fund. The French state will take a stake through Banque Publique d'Investissement Finance of about, hold on tight because this won't change much, 2% of the capital. You're starting to understand. Like with all the other companies that disappeared, guarantees are planned. Penalties that can go up to 40 million euros if the production lines are shut down. 100,000 euros for each possible economic layoff. And 100 million euros if the production of the promised 250 million boxes of paracetamol is not maintained in France. Promises? No one knows for how long, but the message is clear. Even essential medicines are now tradable financial assets. And Doliprane isn't the only case. Takeover, the syrup brand that was founded in 1720 and represents family birthday parties and gatherings, was bought in 2010 by the British group Britvic for 237 million euros. In 2024, Carlsberg, the world's 4th largest Danish brewer, acquires Britvic and thus Takeover. The 300-year-old French brand is now under a Scandinavian flag, making headlines. It may end operations in France. We could mention Amora or Mai, French mustards and condiments bought by Unilever, who closed the historic Dijon and Appoigny factories. 144 jobs were lost, not only in food but also in tech. Atos, the French information technology manager, might even warrant a dedicated video. This one plays a crucial role in cybersecurity, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. He managed cybersecurity for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. Facing financial issues, Atos said it is in exclusive talks with the French government to sell its division's strategic activities. Advanced computing. For cybersecurity activities, a separate sale process will be conducted based on a list of potential buyers approved by the government. The French tech giant is being broken up piece by piece, but before it was the industrial flagships. Today, it's what's in the medicine cabinets, the fridges, the computers. France can no longer truly match its ambitions. No sovereign wealth funds as powerful as Norway's, $1,500 billion, or Singapore's, $700 billion. No clear industrial strategy, no long-term vision. So sales multiply piece by piece, brand by brand, drug by drug. Someday the French will open their medicine cabinets, fridges, and computers and realize almost nothing is French anymore. And there are 5 reasons for that. Alstom, Pechinet, Arcelor, these sales are not accidents, it's a pattern. Short-term thinking has replaced strategy, and industry has become an adjustment variable. And in my opinion, there are 5 reasons for this. The first is the cost of production. Producing in France is extremely expensive. Social security contributions are about 30% of labor costs versus 20% in Germany. Since the electricity market liberalized, industrial companies pay up to 25% more for energy than German competitors. As a result, there are 2 options: relocate or be bought out by a foreign company, which will then relocate as well. Meanwhile, Germany protects, invests in automation and technical training. Despite its worsening situation, its industry still makes up 19% of gross domestic product, while France's is 9% in 2024. The second reason is administrative sluggishness. Setting up a factory in France can take 7 to 9 months compared to 2 to 4 months in Spain or Poland. Standards and European authorizations. Slow appeals become a hidden tax. The problem isn't social protection, it's the speed of execution. Americans say, money loves speed. Money loves speed. And for a company, if it has to choose, it will go where things are faster. Then, there's the lack of long-term vision. Economic planning is limited to 5-year terms, while countries like Germany, Korea, and especially China plan further ahead. Norway has used its oil revenues to build a 1.5 trillion sovereign wealth fund, just as I did. As I said before, it's the world's largest. France, meanwhile, just has Banque Publique d'Investissement France with around 50 billion in assets. Basically, while others buy, France sells. Then there's the myth of the self-regulating market. For 40 years, the state's doctrine has been, the market outperforms the state. Privatization, deregulation, and full openness to competition, except that others don't play by the same rules. China gives massive subsidies to its strategic sectors. The United States, as you now understand, protects itself everywhere. Germany blocks foreign takeovers in energy and defense. And France, it's just the market. But a market without a strategy always ends up selling the strategy. And finally, there's the cultural misalignment. French economic elites are globalized. Harvard, London School of Economics, and Wharton train them to focus on quarterly returns over industrial sovereignty. Selling a flagship company is now seen as optimization, not a mistake. A company is more than an asset. It's a chain of professions, expertise, and identity. The facts are clear. Entire economic sectors have been taken over by foreign groups. Not out of weakness, but out of conviction. The conviction that the industrial era was over. But when a country stops producing, it also stops innovating. And now, is it still possible to take back control? Or is it already too late? Spoiler, no. But in my opinion, it will be difficult. Industrial France has lost much, but not all. Some sectors are still holding on. Luxury, aeronautics, nuclear, defense, space. LVMH, Hermes, and Dior lead global luxury. Airbus is Boeing's sole major rival until China enters the market. Dassault is still synonymous with technological excellence, and Ariane Group continues to send satellites into space. The pillars remain, but we still need to know how to preserve them. Here are a few ideas, and if you have any as well, I would really like to read them in the comments. The first is that sovereignty is not for sale. When a strategic company comes under foreign ownership, it's not just shares that change hands, but the power to decide, to produce, to arbitrate. The United States, China, and Germany know this and have set red lines for energy, defense, health, and critical technology. These sectors are closed to the market and protected. Industrial sovereignty isn't just an asset, it's essential for economic survival. The second idea is to create a sovereign fund. As France lacks protection in a crisis, an industrial sovereign fund could help buy back, restructure, and protect key companies. Not to nationalize, but to prevent their exile to Wall Street, Beijing, or Riyadh. Third, the market isn't very efficient. It focuses on profit, not sovereignty. No power has ever been built on faith in the market alone. You need a vision of priorities and planning. Reindustrialization is possible, but it will be slow. The France 2030 plan provides for 54 billion in investments in future technologies. Batteries, hydrogen, semiconductors, health, and sports. Since 2020, over 300 relocation projects have started, like Norvolt in Dunkirk and Vercors in Grenoble. These are small but real signs. Reindustrialization needs urban factories, extensive technical training, reduced paperwork, and political courage. Because without industry, there is no sovereignty. And without sovereignty, there is no power. And without power, there is no independence. The French industrial story isn't over. And the question isn't, is it possible, but who will have the courage to restart the machines? Unlike Peugeot, jewels of French industrial genius, who, after a rather tragic mistake, ended up being absorbed into the Stellantis group against their will, as you can see in the video that's showing.